know Jesus is to know God. And I think that's the thrust through here. And the Word was God. Now, this has been the fight in so many texts. Just a point more. I do a lot of partnership missions. And when I go into a home overseas, I always say to them, do you have a Bible in your home? Because I want them to know I'm getting what I'm saying out of their Bible, not one that I've brought in. You understand? I have led a lot of people to Christ through the Jehovah Witness Bible. Because now we can fight over torture stake versus cross, and this is the text where we really have a fight with them over a God, or the Word was God. But the rest, the Roman road is sure in that translation, and that's basically what new believers need, right? Now there are two ways to look at this. There are two nouns. There is one article, and it's a to be verb. Now there's a thing called a Sharp's rule, which assumes that if you have one, that you're assuming with the second. The word God is placed first in Greek for emphasis, but there's no article. So I think another fair way to translate this was the Word was divine, because when there's no article, we emphasize the quality of the noun, not the specificity. The Word was God is just as good. What we're saying is, this one that you've met, that you've heard, this one born in Bethlehem, who looks so normal, who looks so human, who is human, is something more. And what is he? The pre-existent, fully God, revelatory instrument for you to meet God. Now, that's a pretty powerful statement for a Jewish carpenter killed for treason. That's exactly what the early church shared with its Roman world. Now, notice if you would, you can see, just look at the top of page 11. I have not listed all these. If we had a long time, I would get us to read all these, but I don't. The full deity of Jesus of Nazareth is certainly here, but he is a distinct person from the Father. So I've tried to give you the verses that talk about one divine essence, and you can see them there in John. And then I try to give you the verses that talk about two distinct persons. John characteristically says, I do not speak until I hear the Father speak. These are not my words. These are his words. So there's a distinction, especially in the high priestly prayer of John 17, where Jesus addresses God the Father. Two distinct persons, and yet at the same time, John 14. Thomas, don't you know that to see me is to see the Father? You hear how John brings together and separates both. It's characteristic of his writing, how he does that. Now, verse 3, all things came into being through him. Now, this is written to refute the Gnostic false teachers. They're going to try to separate Jesus' humanity and deity. And isn't it funny? That's exactly what's happening today. Now, it's backwards culturally. They would believe he is fully God, but not fully human. Different groups of these Gnostics would say that the Spirit of Christ came upon the man Jesus at baptism, and the Spirit of Christ left the man Jesus before he died on the cross. They would say that when Jesus walked along the sand, he didn't leave footprints. He looked human, but he really wasn't, because human and divine cannot be together. That's one aspect of this. But the other aspect that we have to look at over and over is not just the idea that Jesus can't be God, but it's the idea that he always existed, and he is the one that brought things into existence. Now, how does that stop a Gnostic system? They believe the high God was too holy to be touched sinful matter. But no, here's the affirmation. The one always with God, the one who is God, is the one that what? Made all things, came into being. I would say to you, in Genesis 1 and 2, we really have a New Testament Trinitarian farmer. In the beginning, God, Elohim, which is the Hebrew word for God as creator, provider, and sustainer. Verse 2, the Spirit of God brooded over the waters. And from the New Testament passages, and I've listed them for you right here, Jesus is the agent of creation. It was not God the Father that spoke. It was not God the Father that knelt down on the red clay of the Tigris, Euphrates, and breathed into man the breath of life. It was Jesus Christ, the pre-existent Christ. And the verses are laid out there, and I hope you'll look at them. Jesus is the Father's agent of creation. So he's with God. He is God. He's the creator of all things. Now, these are major truths. This is the core. You can't fudge on these. These can't be, let's vote on them. No, this is the heart of New Testament revelation. This is the issue about who is Jesus Christ. And so these things are non-negotiable. Now, of course, we can see it a different way, and we can relate it a different way, but these truths are the major points about the person of Jesus. Apart from him, nothing came into being. In him was life. Now, this is the word Zoe. In John, this always refers to resurrection life, God's life, eternal life. There's another word for life, bios. We get biology from it. It always refers to human life. So this is resurrection life, God's life. We're not talking about human beings here, really, or life on this planet. We're talking about life with God. In him was life. And notice the number of times that life is mentioned in John. It's just everywhere. John uses pairs or dualisms, light and dark. I'm from above, you're from below. He does that all the time, and light and dark is one of these main texts. And it begins right here in verse 4. And that life was the light of men. Now, light as a metaphor is another one of these used so often. But usually, light has to do in John for truth. Remember in John 3:19, light has come into the world, but men have loved darkness more than light because their deeds are evil. In John, light here is truth about God that comes into the human sphere. It has to be received. Now, notice it comes of all men. Now, I'd like to take just a minute to run through this. It'll take me a little long, but I think it's worth it. I think that we have to say, and I don't want to get in a fight with anybody or Calvinism or dispensationalism. I really don't. I'm willing, but I don't want to. Because John 3:16 is too comprehensive for me. I can't believe that God calls some and didn't call others. I can't live with limited atonement. I cannot live with it. Why? Because I know my Bible well. Now, what all of us do, we grow up in homes or go to schools, and we are given a theological grid. And we put that grid over the Bible. And what fits, we underline. And what doesn't fit, we ignore. And what can be twisted, we twist. And then we say everybody else doesn't believe the Bible. Yuck, yuck, yuck. These grids are horrendous. Because does the Bible teach God is sovereign, or does the Bible teach human free will? Absolutely it does. Absolutely it does. Just line up the text. And I would say this to you. You as a believer have no right to let one inspired text damage or depreciate another inspired text. You do not have the right to pick and choose. You only have the right to embrace and try to live in the tension of the way Eastern literature presents truth, and it's not the way Western people receive truth. This is not syllogistic logic. This is Eastern presentation of truth by paradox, by parables, by tension field, pairs. It's a dialectic tension. It's in everything. Do you believe in the security of the believer? I know who I'm talking to. Well, why have you ignored all the passages on the absolute necessity to persevere? To him who overcomes, I'll give the crown of life. Do not grow weary in well-doing, and do cease. We ignore all those because we as Baptists have overstated once saved, always saved.